Ooh, it's a hot one today. What's going on? Alex here, and today I'm going to talk about annuities. Now, people come across annuities most likely in one of two ways. The first way is that somebody passes away, be it an aunt, uncle, cousin, brother, sister, what have you, and it turns out that you just happen to be the beneficiary of an annuity that individual had, and now you receive a phone call all of a sudden, a frantic phone call from a financial advisor. And they tell you that we have to rush, this is urgent, we got to make a decision as far as whether what we're going to do with this annuity and rolling into a new annuity and so forth. So that's one way that clients are exposed to these products. The second way is that you just happen to come across a financial advisor that brings you into his office and starts discussing all these fancy products that they can offer you. And they start getting into the fact that annuities are so great and that you have to pick it up as soon as possible. You need this. It's absolutely imperative that you invest in this right now. So those are the two ways that most people come across annuities. And being that they're so common and they're pushed so heavily, I mean, literally, once you get that call from an advisor, they're so excited to sell you this thing, they'll literally rappel down on a rope from helicopters onto your house and force their way in and make you sign on the dotted line. They're literally that excited about it. So you have to ask yourself why. Annuities pay huge commissions, all right? So I just saved you a whole textbook's worth of analysis in that the advisor who's selling you those products is looking to make money. And that's why it's so urgent for you to buy into this product as soon as they call you, because they're going to tell you that you got to do this now, we can't wait, let's make the decision and so forth, and how can I help you take that step and let's make that decision together. So being that the salespeople that push these things in either scenario are as pushy as they are, and the fact that they're so frantic in getting you to buy the annuity, I've come up with a tool that you can use to answer the all-important question of whether you should invest in an annuity. Here it is. It's a Post-it, all right? And this beautiful tool will quickly help you make the decision of whether or not you should buy an annuity. And here's how. If you can't explain the annuity on this Post-it, then you have no business investing in it. And if you think about the other financial products that you have, you can explain a checking account on this, can't you? It's an account where you put your money in, you're able to withdraw it anytime you want, there's an ATM accessibility factor, and there's FDIC insurance. Bam, we just defined it. Similarly, savings account, well, it works in much the same way. You get a pittance of interest on top, and you're limited to the amount of times that you can take money out of the account. You can also use ATMs, and there's also FDIC insurance. Bam, that's the Post-it explanation right there. Now, let's get a little bit more advanced. Let's talk about a stock. You can explain a stock on here, right? It's a share of a company that may or may not pay a dividend, and if you sell it after a certain period of time, you can benefit from long-term capital gains. Done. Now let's talk about an ETF. Let's get a little bit more fancy. Can you explain an ETF on a Post-it? Absolutely you can. It's a basket of securities. It's publicly traded. You can buy and sell ETF shares 50 times a day if you want to. It's extremely liquid, and the fees are typically very low. Again, explained it on the Post-it. Now, when it comes to annuities, all of a sudden, the explainability tends to jump right off a cliff. And most people can't even start to explain it because the documents, the prospectuses for a lot of these things are 50-something pages. And let me break it down for you. The only reason that these statements and disclosures are so huge is that they don't want you to know how hard you're getting screwed. Very simply. Because complexity is not linked in the markets with good. Complex investments are not necessarily good investments. And if you think that's the case, why don't you go tell that to Warren Buffett and see how hard he laughs at you while he's eating his See's candies and drinking his Coca-Cola. He likes simple businesses. It took forever to Warren Buffett to even invest in Apple, which is a company that makes products that everybody has and uses. All right? So tell him that complex is better, and he'll laugh in your face, I'm sure of it. Now, I will say that there's plenty of annuities that can be explained on a Post-it, and those would probably be the most beneficial for you because they lack all of the additional unnecessary complexity of being equity-linked and index-linked and all of this other fancy stuff that, at the end of the day, really doesn't help you long-term to build your wealth if you really strip it down to its essentials. So if you have a fixed annuity that, let's say, takes a certain amount of money up front and then they pay you a certain return for a certain number of years, We just passed the posted test. But if it's one of those products where there's a participation rate and then there's certain thresholds that you have to exceed, and then but you can, your downside is supposedly limited, but your upside is also limited. So trying to figure out if you're winning or losing at the end of the day is an uphill battle. So if you do find yourself in a situation where you're seriously considering those products, then you should have the acumen to actually do the quantitative analysis to figure out whether you're coming out ahead or not. If that's not the case, then you should be in a position where somebody else is doing that for you. Let's say if you're Michael Dell or George Soros. Unless you're in those categories where you can do the analysis yourself and figure out whether you're coming out ahead with the annuity or not and if it's right for you. And if you don't have other people doing the analysis, take the post-it test, all right? At the very least, you can pay an outside consultant who's not affiliated with the annuity company, be they a CPA, a certified financial planner, and so forth. Just make sure they're fee only, and have them do the analysis. Send them the document that they gave you, whether it's a prospectus, a disclosure statement, or whatever it is, and get their feedback. And I can tell you that someone who's independent, who's not connected to the product, who doesn't have a financial stake in whether you buy it or not, they're going to have a totally different perspective than the guy who's knocking on your door, frantically trying to have you sign on the dotted line, because if you don't, they don't eat, okay? And they fail to disclose, more often than not, now I would say 99% of the time, that they're set to make thousands of dollars as soon as you sign on that line. And who's paying for that? You are. Now, whether or not that's buried in a huge document or not, it doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, they are making money on the fact that you are investing in that annuity. And overall, whether that benefits you in the long term, who knows? The point is, if their incentive is to make the commission, I can assure you that they haven't taken the time to analyze whether long-term this is the most beneficial product for you. Would you be better off just investing that money in the market over time and having that grow for you? Or do you actually need an annuity that has all of these complexities and fees and surrender charges, let's not forget? So those are the dynamics that you have to keep in mind to keep yourself from getting screwed by unscrupulous salespeople in this business, unfortunately. And let's talk about surrender charges. Why does such a great product need to have a penalty for you to divest from it, right? If it's so awesome, then shouldn't you be free to come and go as you please? In that case, they would have happy customers holding the products for years and years no matter what. You wouldn't need surrender charges, because people would realize that this is such a great thing that they'll be piling in through the door. So I don't want to hear that, oh, well, we need surrender charges for this, that, the other. No, it's simply a retention tool to keep people in who've signed a document they don't quite understand, and now they're locked in. And sometimes these surrender charges could be outrageous. You're talking about 10% to surrender the annuity, and some of these can last for years, okay? So you could be locked into some of these products for a fairly long amount of time. So that's why this is so serious. And to all those salespeople who are calling you, who are breaking your door down, trying to get your attention, getting you to sign, tell them to f off, because they don't have your best interest in mind and they're not watching out for you. Here's another thing to keep in mind. What's the hurry? What's the rush? Some of these beneficiaries, they're getting calls from these advisors. They are 20 years old, 30 years old, 40 years old. Why do they need an annuity that week? Why do they need an annuity that month? Here's the thing to keep in mind. They're not going to run out of annuities. You're not going to get to Mutual Life of Omaha or whatever, and you're going to pick up the last annuity off the shelf, and now they're sold out. Think about it, right? They're just going to generate one and sell it to you. That's how annuities work. Similar to car insurance, to where you haven't frantically called the car insurance company to request a policy knowing that they're going to run out of car insurance policies, right? You don't remember doing that, but for some reason, there seems to be this hurry, this need for haste when it comes to annuities in general that is really difficult to understand unless you just consider that someone's trying to make money. They're trying to prevent you from really putting some thought into it, and they're certainly trying to prevent you from having another professional look at the product, because most often they're going to be able to take apart and pick apart the details and determine that, this is really not the best thing for you. I mean, you can buy into it, but there's other ways to achieve your goals, and that don't have to do with a product that may have high fees, may lock you in for an extraordinary period of time, and may also charge you surrender charges to actually get out of it if you're not happy with it. Now, I'm not saying that all annuities are bad. There are particular situations in which an annuity is exactly what you need. But you need to determine that that is the case, and you need to determine that that particular annuity is right for you, because there's so many different types and so many nuances there to keep track of that you really need someone to take a look at it who's qualified in that area to ensure that you're making the right decision, both for now and the future. Those are some things to keep in mind. I hope this was helpful. Stay away from those annuities and make sure that you use the Post-it test. Thanks for watching.